pleasure to introduce our first speaker. Karen Gerwitz brings more than 30 years worth of professional experience in the public and private spheres, and she currently is the president of the World Trade Center Denver. Karen. It's my pleasure to introduce you.
Oh, thank you very much, everyone. Nice to see you. Good morning or good evening if you're tuning in from one of our international locations. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Welcome to the 7th International Business and You Conference. It's really wonderful to host this conference every year. It's something that the World Trade Center takes great pride in, working with so many universities. Matter of fact, we've worked with about 30 plus 35 or so universities on this, not only throughout the state, but through other states as well, and also through the following countries that we've got attendees that'll be joining us from the Philippines, the Czech Republic, Uganda, South Africa, Nigeria, Brazil, Germany. So it's really an incredibly diverse global business conference. And it's one of my favorite events that we do every year because it really does, it's meant to inspire students to start to seek international opportunities and international career paths. So matter of fact, let me tell you a little bit about the history of this great conference. We started in 2013 and we were in person, of course, back then, and we hope to bring it back in person too for a component in the future. But we had some incredible themes throughout the years, and this year's theme is, as Gina mentioned, is the interconnected business world, opportunities and responsibilities. We're going to be talking about how interconnected we are. I think we all felt that with the supply chain crisis this year, but in fact, there's so many more positive ways that we're connected, and how global business connects us all and makes us all have better lives. And I think no better way to describe that interconnectivity than the video I'd like to show you just to get us kicked off. So bear with me and I'll get that started.
We are the rallying cry around trade and why it matters and why it's important.
People don't realize that Denver has a strong international community, and I think World Trade Center really brings it together.
You trade first with someone that you get to know and like. So it's those relationships that turn into business partnerships, that turn into friendships that we cherish around World Trade. And so it is really important for us to continue those friendships and to show that Colorado is open and accessible, as is the US market for business.
It has been a beautiful journey. I have been living here for almost 20 years, and every year I grow as a person, I grow as a citizen, I grow as someone who has big dreams.
30 years ago, the World Trade Center Denver was formed. At that time, in 1987, we were exporting about $1.4 billion. Today, 30 years later, $20 billion of our economy is made up from global trade, just on the export side.
Anytime you're moving things across borders, you're gonna have some obstacles. Some of those are legal, some of them are regulatory, labor laws, so your employees are gonna have different rules. Taxation becomes a problem because different countries tax income differently. So the World Trade Center does a lot to help businesses understand what those hurdles are to international trade.
Another thing they do is they have a great education program at the Institute that actually certifies people in international trade.
We've been helping companies from 5 to 5,000 people grow globally, make new connections, open new markets, and celebrate new friendships and relationships across the world.
So that's how I see trade moving, is increasingly connected, increasingly diverse, and increasingly focused on solving social problems, not at the expense of the bottom line, but in cooperation with enhancing the bottom line.
So it brings the world closer together, and it really facilitates peace. So there's not big, long, sustained wars or efforts because you can't afford the disruption in supply chain.
Trade is not just this exchange of merchandise and services and knowledge. Trades can bring connections. Trades can help us relate to one another. Trade can help us accept one another and live through peace, harmony, and dignity.
Trade has done more to reduce global poverty than probably any other effort in the history of mankind. That's a good thing.
If you teach someone how to trade, then you're teaching them a skill that will get them out of poverty.
Through trade, through cooperation, through diplomacy, we can solve any problem. I just want to be part of the people who are igniting positively that flame and back up and let the other generation take it away.
We can enhance environmental protection. We can enhance workers' rights. We can make the world a more prosperous place. We reduce global poverty all through trade.
I hope one day I can sit and say, I was part of this. Because life is short. The story will be forever.
Well, I hope you found that inspiring. As you can tell, our slant at the World Trade Center is that trade is good. Trade is good for Colorado. Trade is good for our economy. Trade is good for the world. It really does help raise everybody's game when you're in competition with those around the world as opposed to those in a neighboring state. So here are some of the other reasons why we think our international business world is becoming so much more connected, and why that brings not only opportunities, but responsibilities, which is our theme this year. First off, I mentioned, if you're competing with others across the world, your innovation is going to increase because you're competing on a whole new scale. And you're starting to see innovation around the world creep up that we need to be implementing here in our country as well. So we learn from each other. That sharing of ideas, we consider trade. You become way more competitive when you start entering the global market. Matter of fact, I think the most innovative companies are competing on the global stage. When you go to innovation conferences, make sure you're finding out which portion of them are competing globally. Also, you can round out your sales, which is a great opportunity for companies that maybe sell seasonally. You can sell to the Southern Hemisphere and round out your sales cycle. Or maybe you have later or earlier stage products that are no longer as popular here. You could sell those elsewhere. So there's lots of ways to round out your sales cycle. Also, trade brings us a sense of abundance, and it's because it brings us so many choices. There are now opportunities for people of any background of financial earnings. They can get school clothes for their kids. They can get the foods that they need through grocery stores, and all this is because of trade. Trade brings about so many choices, and it also brings abundance to the world, because if you're not able to produce something locally, or maybe it's out of season here, we can trade with other markets who can produce that better and cheaper than us. So for us, there's tons of opportunity with trade. It improves your competitive advantage for those of you in economics classes. But But that also comes with some responsibilities, and that is, we do need to find ways to leverage trade to help our most impoverished countries, most developing countries, so that they can, add value to their goods and sell those products at a much higher rate than they would locally to the global market. It's a pathway to build wealth for them, and we absolutely believe that this is a great way to bring you out of poverty. We also have a number of protections. You've heard of tariffs. You've heard of ways that the government is protecting certain industries. I would say that we need protection when it comes down to protecting consumers. If products are going to harm consumers, there absolutely should be regulation involved. But some of the tariffs and industry protection, it maybe went a little too far in years past, because to be honest, the marketplace should play itself out, and trade should be allowed as accessible as possible to make sure that our market flourishes. So environment is also a common concern about trade with pollutants and others of shipping. And there are so many other advanced technologies that are coming about with, using hydrogen for fuel and other types of clean energy to make changes there. But I will argue that trade is what's bringing those about, because we're sharing ideas. So yes, we need to make sure that we are protective of our environment and labor, no doubt. And does trade contribute to some of that? Of course it does. We need to find ways. And I think with this next generation, you all will help us, as well as this current generation. Let's solve this collectively as a global society. So lots of opportunities and responsibilities. And we think this is a great theme for this year, especially since we've all experienced the supply chain issues this year. Here's what we have in store for you for the conference. These are the speakers that we're presenting. One on digitalization, Kevin Kajitsa. He's the founder and CEO of Seraphin AI. I think you'll be excited to hear from this founder of a startup tech firm. And then we have a speaker on trade, and that's Laura Nolan. She's the manager of global distribution at Spectra Logic, a really great company out of Boulder. It's doing data storage and climate change and business. Ian Hamilton is here from the Environmental Discourse Officer at Bahayas of US. And Ian is a great speaker on climate change, but also talks about how global business is interconnected with that common challenge that we all face. And then lastly, rounding us out is Jamie Van Leeuwen, speaking on innovation in developing countries. Jamie's done a lot of great work from the Global Living Institute, and he'll be talking about what he's doing in Africa. So excited for this lineup today. I want you to make sure you're listening for career paths that you could maybe adopt as you go along. And if you have questions that you can come up with on how they created their career to get where they are, those would be good to ask, because there are so many ways to connect into global business. It's you finding your path that makes the most sense for you. I can't tell you how many students we get on a daily basis that say, I want to be an international business person, but they don't necessarily have a function. So they're not like, they don't have a skill set in accounting, or a skill set in marketing, or a skill set in compliance or regulatory or legal background. I will tell you that you need to develop those functional skill sets so that you can ride that path to go global. So it's really hard to just be an international. You really want to find a functional path that you do well, and then find a way to make that path global. And the best way to do that is to choose a company that's already doing global business and plug into that. Show them that you're a rock star in that path, and then make it known from day one that you want to be helping to manage their global operations in such and such a country, because that's the way you get there. Don't worry so much about the title. Make sure you find the place the organization that's global already and try to plug in there. That's my advice to you. That's what I did. Moved to Africa right after college, and I've been working in global business ever since. So be happy to talk to you about that during the networking session at the end of the night. And other people, I'm sure, will share their paths as well. But what are some things you can do immediately as a student to, start taking the next step to think globally? We hope, of course, that you'll have an open mind during this conference and willing to learn from others' paths and really trying to see yourself in this global career, because that's what we're trying to inspire. We also want to make sure you see the connectivities that we're presenting today. We've got a lot of diverse topics, but they're all connected to global business. And to be honest, we take the word trade very liberally and say that trade is also the trade of ideas, of services, of technology. And so if you think of that with the word trade, you'll see why the World Trade Center is involved at the helm of this conference. So think about opening your mind and becoming much more of a global citizen and take the next step forward in your global career. So here are some things that you can do with the World Trade Center. We welcome you to become a member. We have a student membership. It's only $100 a year. What that does is it unlocks a 50% discount off of everything we do. Our member rate of every event, every class, every conference. And so that also means that you can pursue your certificate of international trade, which is about 12 courses we teach. Basically, it complements your degree at the university, and it gives you about 48 hours of practical trade education. So when you get that certificate from us, you're pretty much export-import ready, or able to help a company take their products or services globally. So we also have a really great network group called our Next Gen group. It's the Global Young Leaders in Dialogue Guild. Hope you'll join us there, because you'll meet other young professionals from across other global business organizations. And we also have an incredible immigrant entrepreneur track that we're running. We help about 100 immigrant entrepreneurs right now start their first ever global trading business with their home countries, most likely. And we're looking for student assistance to support those incredible business people on their journey, and helping to write business plans, do some research, help with some marketing, and financial planning and all of this. So could really use your support there. And then finally, if you're an intern at the World Trade Center, which we offer interns throughout the year, you'll get all the above for free and then some. So we hope that you'll consider joining us either as a member or an intern. And I hope this conference inspires you. My favorite moment was when we had this conference one year, and one of the students wrote me the next day and said, "I finally did it. I booked my flight to Germany. I've been wanting to go for years." And that's what we want you to do. We want you to explore the world, keep an open mind, and discover new paths forward so that you can become a global business professional as well. And we're here to help you understand those paths to take. Fundamentally, we think Colorado is stronger when we trade, and that's what we are. That's what we're here to talk about today. So I think I'm running out of time. So just wanted to quickly tell you that the World Trade Center has got a really exciting development coming up called Fox Park. And it's a really vibrant environment. That building there that you see in the foreground, that large white building, will be the new World Trade Center in Denver. The final development should look like this, which is pretty incredible. We'll have Virgin Hotels on the top of us, but it's right at I-70 and I-25. If you want to know more information, check out foxparkdenver.com. We welcome you to be part of this physical ecosystem as well as our virtual ecosystem, and we're excited to be part of your future. So I'm Karen. Thank you so much for your attention today, and feel free to reach out to me or connect with me on LinkedIn if we can be helpful. Thank you so much.
Karen, thank you so much for opening our conference and sharing your perspectives and information about the exciting new developments going on with World Trade Center Denver. Thank you to all our participants for tuning in. As a quick reminder, please be sure to sign up for the drawing for the World Trade Day ticket. It is an amazing event that happens every May. Highly recommended. The networking is awesome. And it's a great place to get to know the international business community here in Colorado.
I also just wanted to say that it's our 50th annual World Trade.
Ooh, even
that's
better.
pretty,
That's awesome.
pretty big deal. Yeah.
It is a big deal. Yeah. Our next session starts exactly at 9:30. So be sure to stay tuned. And as I mentioned, lots going on in the chat. So thank you again.